I can almost guarantee that this is not something that you know about the flood story. So we know that the flood of Noah comes and wipes off all humans on the earth because of their immoral actions, as well as all the animals, except for two of every kind. And the only people that are spared are Noah, his sons, and their wives. And after the flood, God makes a covenant with us, showing us that he will never again flood the earth. And his covenant is Genesis 8:12. Then God said, I am giving you a sign of my covenant with you and with all living creatures for all generations to come. I have placed my rainbow in the clouds. It is a sign of my covenant with you and all of the earth. So when we think of the Hebrew term rainbow, it's actually the word keshet. And there really isn't a word for rainbow in Hebrew. Keshet actually translates better to bow. And the translation bow is actually like a bow and arrow. And so when we think about the rainbow being hung in the sky like that, it's actually God hanging up his weapon, the rainbow in the sky. So normally when you have a bow and arrow, the bow is this way, you pull it back, and that's how it slingshots the arrow forward. But God is hanging up his weapon in the sky, pointing his weapon towards himself. So if you were to think about the bow, you'd pull it back this way and it would slingshot the arrow towards himself. He's hanging up his weapon, hanging up his bow in the sky as his covenant with us, as a sign of peace, as a sign of mercy. And I think that is such an interesting tie-in to the Jesus story, the gospel, the story of how God sent his son and took the pain upon himself in the sacrifice of his son. This is such a reminder of the gospel and Jesus, because God sent his only son to be sacrificed for our sins. So God took the pain and the suffering upon himself for us. And I think that it's just so beautiful, because I had always had a hard time looking through the Old Testament and seeing Jesus in the Old Testament. But the more I look for him, the more I see how consistent God is, the more I see how the gospel is being told over and over and over and over and over again in every story in the Bible. So I just thought that that was a nice story to share. Let me know if you've heard that story, if you've heard of that story before, and I will be back for some more.